Right, hello people. Right, we're going to get on with this one, the Matchbox 176 scale Sdkfz 11 with the PAK 40 and the BMW R75. Now I'm going to go with the desert scheme for this one. Now I've had a good look at the box art. This is by Doug Post. I think he painted this. When you look at the motorbiking sidecar, it looks like it's actually in grey, Panzer grey. The half track not so much, looks like desert yellow, and so does the PAK 40. Now if you have a look at the instructions, I am intrigued by this one. This is the one I'm going to go for. This is the 21st Panzer Division North Africa. Now the colours it lists for A and B is sand and mouse grey. Not quite sure how authentic it is, but I do believe a lot of Afrika Corps stuff was delivered in Panzer grey, and there were field modifications to paint them, or even just to like rub mud on them just to take the edge off the grey. So that might be what we've got here, like the original grey with sort of mud pattern or just sort of like dirt rubbed on the vehicle. But just for a laugh and just because I like the look of it, we're going to go with a sort of hard edge sand and grey, and we'll see what it looks like. I haven't painted one like this before. I've done a few of these before, but we'll go with that and try and get. I might just go with the sand and grey on that one, on the sidecar and motorbiking sidecar, the R75. I might just try and replicate the grey that's on the box. I don't know if you agree with me whether that looks grey or not. So this is what we're going to build, and we'll have a quick. I think I've already done a little review on this, so we'll not mess around too much. We've got the 3 sprues, 3 different colours. And what I'll do, I'll do the base first because it's quite complex. So we've got the big base there with all the track marks and some rubble and some build material. We've got the eagle with, again, that naughty little symbol has been rubbed out. On the original one from Matchbox, it had a specific symbol in, but these have been, it's a Revel reissue. This one, I think, yes, I think it is. So that symbol has gone. It does say 86 Matchbox. Yeah, it's got Revel there as well. So that's where that symbol's gone. So we'll cut these bits off the sprue and we'll stick them together and we'll see what the base looks like. Okay, let's start. Right, that's a few bits cut off the sprue. So it's made of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts for the base. So I'll go with the old, well, I want some really heavy glue for this, so I've got the old trusty Humbrol glue in my old tester's bottle. So let's stick a bit of that on, see what it looks like. Right, so let's have a look. I'm not too bothered about being careful with the glue. I want quite a bit on there. And there we go. I think the last time I built one of these, I had to use a little bit filler between the panels. But I'll glue it all together and we'll see what it looks like. And there's the base all built up. Went together no problem, as you'd expect. I think I do remember some gaps being on one of these last one I built. It was a very long time ago now, but I think this isn't going to be an issue with this one. There's not much of a gap between the joint between the floor and the building, or the road and the building. There is some seam lines down there and there, but I'm actually going to live with them. I'm going to leave them there in the spirit of the Matchbox model. I'm not going to put any filler on these at all. So that's basically where we're going to be with that. Nice little base. It's a nice backdrop for the 3 vehicles, or the 2 vehicles in the PAK 40. So that's we're now going to wait a coat of primer, which I'll show you how to do that. Now I thought we'd have a quick look at the little motorbike, the little BMW R75. So I've cut it off the sprue and I've cleaned it up a little bit. So I'll just show you what we do with that. So we've got the fuel tank. I'll pop the fuel tank on. It sits like that. The glue I'm going to use for this is Tamiya extra thin cement. So a little bit on the brush, just a little dab on there. And that should do enough. That should be enough to keep that secure. I will put the sidecar wheel on. There's the sidecar, and the wheel goes on there. So I'll put a little dab of glue on that first, just to try and soften the plastic up, so the wheel will hold. And there's the little wheel, that's already cleaned up. And pop it on like so, make sure it's straight. I'll give a little bit, drop more glue there, because it's a bit, it's not the best fit there, it's a little loose. So that's that on. I'll put that down, I'll let that set a little bit, then I'll have a look at it. While it's still soft, I can adjust it so it's nice and straight. So once that's dry, we'll put the sidecar onto the motorbike and the handlebars, and there's some spare wheel to go on the back of the sidecar, and some packs as well, and the rider, but we'll do them last. Right, so we'll come back in a second when it's dry. Right, I've actually motored along and I've completed the little BMW and sidecar. How neat is that? So that's got the three colours on, the sand, the brown and the darker brown. Nice little impressive little model. So that's going to paint up nicely. There's the outrider. Oopsie. I'll stick him on there. So he looked very good in the desert colours. So we'll crack on with that. I've actually done the PAK 40 as well. So let's give you a quick look at that. So gun goes up and down, the legs open and close. Hey. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it in the travel position, so I'll need to be glued together and the gun will be glued together, making it easier to paint. But otherwise, that's that done, and that built up really nicely. It's quite a nice, accurate, well, reasonably accurate depiction of the PAK 40. Then next thing's to move on to the Sdkfz 11. So I haven't started that yet, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things. So I think this kit's from 1986. It might be slightly older than that. But if you just look at like the sprue attachment points on the model, how fine they are. Like I say, the more you look at Matchbox kits, the more impressive they become. Especially when you compare to some attachment points on some models today. I mean, some of Edwards are a bit challenging. Tacobs in particular can be. But look what they were doing decades ago. So there's no excuse to have terrible attachment points today. Even looking at the wheels, look how fine those attachment points are. They're the outer wheels, the inner ones. Very nice, very modeler friendly, I should say. So that's them. So I'm going to crack on and build the half track. I'll do a little bit. I'll do one side of the wheels, and then I'll show you how I've done them on the other side. Just to give you a little bit of a build preview. Okay, right. Let's have a little update on the half track itself. So you can see I've done one side of the interleaved wheels, the drive sprocket, the front axle, and the front wheels and tires. Went together really nice. I've left this side off. Just I'll show you how I did it. So basically, I've just cleaned up the edges of these with a knife. Basically, just scraped them to get rid of the slight burr that's on there. You can probably see on there. So you see on there. So that's all I do with that. Just basically get rid of that, and you see it's gone. So the three inner ones go on first. Just get in the right order, and they slot on really nicely. 1, 2, 3, as per the instructions. Make sure they're nicely lined up. Little drop of glue. We're going to go with Tamiya extra thin cement, and just a little dab. That'll sort them. We'll leave them for a few minutes. Now the next wheels are like twin wheels, the ones in the center there. So basically what I've done with them, I've just cut them off the sprue. There's that one there, which will get some different glue, slightly thicker, slow drying glue, and we'll just glue them together. So a little blob on there, and we'll just basically join them together, make sure they're nice and even. Pop it down there to dry, and in the style of Blue Peter, here's three I provided. Here's three I made earlier. 1, 2, and 3. And basically what we do next, we get the chassis and we just slot them in on the end ones, and again you just make sure they sit nice and straight. So 1, 2, 3. I'll let that other one dry a little bit, and just make sure you don't knock into the back wheels as well. Make sure they're nice and straight. I mean, it's not really that critical or essential because it's quite a small scale, but it's nice to try and get them nice and level. So that one's moved a little bit in the middle. Pop that back like that. And again, just with the extra thin cement, just dab, 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 and that'll dry nicely. Okay, I'll wait for the other one to dry, then I'll put that one on. But there is the drive wheel to go on, which is there, and that just slots in. Don't drop it. Just slots in on the drive axle, clicks in place. That's how good the fit is on this Matchbox kit. And a little dab of glue on there as well, and just push it a little bit to make sure it sits nicely. So I'll put that next wheel on once it's dry, and we'll just got the outer leaves to do. Okay, I'll be back in a moment. Yep. So there we go. We'll pop the outer road wheels on now. So again, they've been cut off the sprue, and just pop them on the stub axles there. 1, 2, and 3. Oh, that's done a runner. So they're all sitting neatly on there. And we'll just give them a drop of Tamiya extra thin cement again, and let capillary action do the job. And we'll just make sure they sit nice and flush. So we'll just move them down a bit. Like I say, it's not critical, it's quite a small scale. And we'll let that dry and we'll see what it's like at the end, and we'll pop the body on. It's not sitting right. Right, I'll just adjust them. This is the body so far. It's built up really nicely, no problems. So I've just basically put the sides on, the bonnet on, the side grills or the side panels for the radiator, for the engine. I'll put the radiator on shortly. I've put the steering column in, and we'll busy build that up, and we'll mate it up to the chassis, and we'll see what it looks like. Right, so here's the upper body. That's all built. Went together quite nicely, no fit issues whatsoever. Nice and straightforward. I've put the ammunition lockers in the closed position. They can be in the open position, and they do have detail of shells and whatnot inside them, but I've covered them up because I'm going to have it in the transportation mode, as in driving with the crew internal of the vehicle. That's all the road wheels on the chassis. Now we're moving on to the tracks now. Right, this is how they come. Rubber band tracks from Matchbox. They're not as bad as people think or probably remember. They're not too bad. These are nice and flexible. I have had some on some older kits where they're pretty much just exploded into dust, but these ones seem pretty good. That's the fit. That's the join at the bottom, so we couldn't try and hide it at the bottom. So what I'm going to do, I'm obviously going to super glue the track down to give it some sort of like weight to it. But I'm going to do that after I've done the primer on it, because the primer gives it a little bit more bite. So that's what I'll do with that. So I'll do the other side track now, and then we'll mate up the body and the chassis, and we'll prime them all up. Then we'll get on with the painting. That's the PAK 40 all glued up as well. So that's going to go on. It's going to be towed, so it fits in that little pintle there. There's toes in there, not very nicely. The crew, I've got 8 figures to paint, but I'll do them last. Like I said, the motorbike and sidecar is already done, already built, and it needs priming. That's the tarpaulin, so it does come with a roof as well. So we've got 2 different options. It still fits with the figures in, so you can either have it on or have it off. Either way. So I'll put this other track on, I'll cut that off, we'll get some primer on, and then we'll start getting some paint on and see where we go from there. Right, there we go. We are ready to prime now, and as always, my primer of choice, Autotech Grey Primer. Nice even coverage. There's no need to go mad with primers. This is just as good as any sort of model board primer. It doesn't come blasting out the tin. It's controllable. It dries smooth. No graininess. It takes paint brilliantly. It takes washes excellently. Never have any reaction. It's honestly one of the best primers I've ever used. I think it's the same company who made the Halford's Grey Primer. That might tell you something in the UK. So we're going to prime these. We're going to get rid of the browns and the yellows and the desert yellow colours now. So say goodbye to all that brown. We'll come back and it'll all be grey. And there we go, that's the grey primer on, looking pretty good. Nice uniform colour there, nice and flat and smooth, so no graininess. So what we're going to do, we're going to do the vehicles first. So we'll get rid of the scenery, and we'll put that with the figures, and we'll finish them later. We'll get rid of the tarpaulin actually, because we'll get a shot of that for now. So basically we've got the half track, the car, and the motorbike, the sidecar, and the PAK 40. So we're going to go with this sort of effect. Like I said, I don't think it's very accurate sand colour with the grey sort of dappled pattern on it, but it looks quite interesting. So I'm going to airbrush the basic colour first, and we're just going to go with straightforward, simple Revell enamels, number 314. We're just going to blast it on these 3 bits, and then we'll do some detail painting to get this sort of zebra stripe kind of effect on the vehicles. Now it's going to be quite intricate, because if you look at the sidecar, how intricate the pattern is and how small the sidecar actually is, so it's going to take some careful brush work, but we'll do some brush work rather than some airbrushing, just for a change. Right, let's fire up the compressor. Right, so we've got about 50-50 thinners to paint, so we'll just quickly get some paint on this model. So we're going to give it a couple of light dust coats and then a slightly heavier one. Right, so that's the sort of effect we're looking for. Right, I'll crack on and get those finished. And there we go, a nice smooth sort of desert yellow over the whole vehicle, and the PAK 40 and the R75 BMW motorbike and sidecar. And now, just to show you before, I've super glued a little touch of super glue on the tracks there to give it that sagged effect. And what I might do, there's a little sort of gap here where you get when you join the tracks together, just little gaps there. I might pop a little bit of plastic card in there just to block that up, but otherwise that doesn't look too bad. The tracks look all right, especially when you get the sag on them. Now I've got to choose the sort of grey to get that sort of zebra stripe type blobby pattern on the vehicles. Not sure what's great to go for, a slightly darker one or a slightly lighter one. Either way, they're both going to be weathered down, whichever one I choose. So I'll decide what one to use, and choose a nice paintbrush and get painting. So we'll be there in a minute. Now we're going to do this squiggly grey pattern on the models. I've had a hunt around for the greys. I'm not quite sure which one to use. I was going to go for this one, but it looks a little bit light. I've had a rifle around in the old stash, and I'm probably going to go with this Humbrol 164. So it's slightly darker. It should be okay, because obviously the model will get weathered down as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit on this little, it's an old Pringles lid, just so I can control the paint, that's all. I've got a little bit white spirit in here, normal white spirit. I'm going to go with, it's just an old Airfix brush. I'm not really going to be that keen on it getting perfect. I'm going to just basically move the paint around more than paint it on. So just thin it down a little bit, so it's like flows nicely. We'll try and do it as per the model. So we'll do a little bit on the back, and then I'll probably go off and paint it with the camera out my face. But to get a decent flow. It's a little bit too thin, and just sort of follow the pattern. It's a little bit transparent, which is fine, because it's going to get weathered down anyway. So as you can see, we're kind of following the instructions a little bit. Might get a little bit free form later on, but that's basically what we're looking for. It's a nice consistency. Let's see what it dries. I'll paint the rest of it, and then we'll come back and see what they look like. Like I say, I think before, I don't think it's very accurate. I don't think I've ever seen any in-theatre shots of them painted like this, but in the spirit of the model, I thought we'll follow the instructions, as you might have done when you were a 9, 10, 11-year-old. You wouldn't know any better, so, well, you may as well just go with it. Right, so there we go. We've got this sort of camouflage pattern painted on the vehicles. Looks a bit weird, but they look all right. Quite happy with them. So it sort of matches up the instructions, inaccurate though they are. So that's the PAK 40. Nice tiger stripes all over that. Zebra stripes, tiger stripes. So I've also blocked in the colours as well. So you can see on the half track, like the fuel tanks, the seats and whatnot, the tracks, just roughly blocked in. So we're going to start weathering and calming this down a bit. And there's the little sidecar as well. So that's had the full treatment as well. There we go. Get some light on that. So we'll continue. I think it's a fair representation of that. Although, just to point out the inconsistency on Matchbox instructions, or the Revell reissued instructions, that's now saying it's the 21st Panzer Division North Africa, this sort of grey and sand colour. You've got your Afrika Corps symbols on there. But if you look at the back of the box, it sort of says that's the 19th Panzer Division, Eastern Front 1941. So it's got the green and the grey. So I think they've got the colours a bit mixed up. I don't think either of them are particularly accurate. But like I say, in the spirit of the kit, the spirit of the times, we've gone for this, and it looks quite interesting. So we'll get some weather on it. We'll airbrush some earth around it, or some dirt. Get some washes on it, some dry brushes, and try and bring it back to life. And try and add some additional details. So, like I say, the base is still just primed. So when I airbrush some dust and dirt on that, I'll start airbrushing the base of this as well. But I think we're going to brush paint the rest of that, but that's to come yet. Right, the next thing we need to do now, before we put the somewhat ropey looking transfers on, I've had a good look at them this morning. They don't look great, they're not well printed, they're not well defined, but they might go on all right. Now I want to give this some sort of definition. Looks a bit sort of flat at the minute, so I'm going to give it some dust, airbrush some dust, and you know, around the tracks and halfway up the side where we'd kick it up when it's driving through the desert. Obviously get some dust around the PAK 40 as well, and certainly get some dust on the old motorbike. I'm going to go with wooden deck tan from Tamiya. It's sort of like a nice slightly contrasty colour. We'll see what it's like, then we'll get the transfers on, we'll start getting some washes on, some dry brushing, some additional detail painting, and we'll start working on the base. Now what I'm going to do, I'll put the duster on the vehicles, and on the base I'm just going to start, whatever I've got left on the airbrush, I'll start putting on the base and start building some colours up on that. I do want to do quite a bit of brush painting on this as well, but let's start. We'll get some of this on and we'll see what it looks like, and we'll get some transfers on. Right, back in a minute. So that's the dust applied. I think it's worked quite well. It sort of calmed it down a little bit, and the dust that I've airbrushed on the vehicles, I've airbrushed the base as well. So that's basically just my base coat for continuing to blend in the models with the base, because obviously it's going to be traveling on the surface. It's going to be picking up that type of color. So like faded the center of the tarpaulin on the roof as well. Calmed the wheels and tires down a bit on the PAK 40, and again the little R75 has had a bit of a go. The transfers are down. They went down okay. They're not the nicest looking ones, but they're okay. They'll do in this scale. Next thing to do now is a wash. So I'm going to make me wash of my own oil paints, but it's going to be slightly more browner, slightly warmer, just so we don't want to kill that sort of light sand effect. So we'll do the wash next. Again, I'll put the base away for now, and we'll return to that once the vehicles are complete. Right, let's get on with the wash. So here we have a custom mix of a brown and black sort of oil paint mixture with some white spirit. So you can see how it's quite thin. So we're going to start applying a bit to this vehicle, and we'll see with the capillary action. Oh, it's a bit heavy, that. Get rid of that a bit. Might have to thin this down a little bit, but you can see with the capillary action how it goes into the joints and follows all the creases, and it'll dry in the recesses and give us a nice sort of bit of depth to the model. Just do a little bit around that area there. Like I said, I might have to thin this down a little bit. It looks a little bit thick to me, so I'll put a little bit more thinners in, thin it down, and we'll continue doing all that. And like I say, if you get any sort of excess bleed, just lift it off with a paintbrush and it'll be all right. Got to be careful not to wipe the paint off you've already put on. Right, I'll continue with the rest of that and we'll see what it's like when it's done. Well, let's have a quick look and see where we're up to. So I've done a little bit more work on the vehicles. They've had a wash and a dry brush. That's basically it. That's all I've done to them. But you can see how the wash and the dry brush and the little bit of airbrush in the middle of the tarpaulin gives it that nice faded look. Some lovely detail sculpting on that, so that's really brought the detail on that. Lifted it very well. I've done a little bit on the base, so I'll just quickly talk you through that. So using the weather and colours that I've used for the vehicles, I sort of painted the base in that. Now, excuse me, looking at the building, it looks like it was some sort of grand governmental or some regional governance building. So the way the Matchbox sculptors have done it, you've got like quite a rough area, then a smoother area, then an even smoother area. So to me, it looks like it's like North African, Middle Eastern, so maybe it's been made out of mud bricks or what, I don't know, not sure. So that'd be the darker brown here. Then the lighter brown might be its first coat of rendering, and the top one is like another coat of rendering. So I've tried to give it some sort of depth. So basically it's a darker brown, then a lighter brown, which is similar colour to the base, and this is an off yellow and a bit of white airbrushed in. I've painted them grey. I've got a bit on the steps there and a bit of white airbrush just on the floor there to make sure, so it looks like the plaster's come off and there's a bit of dust on there. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give it a wash, and I'm going to put a targeted wash on the edges here, from there to there, and on the eagle and whatnot, just a few more washes around this area, and then I'll give it a highlight. I'll give it a dry brush, then I'll go in with white highlight and just highlight the edge of the plaster with white, so it looks like it's fresh, like it's freshly been broken off, and that should be the base done. They haven't got much to do on the vehicles themselves, just a little bit extra work, a bit of varnish on it, maybe some detail work on jerry cans, etc. A bit of work on the PAK 40, especially on the breech, just a little bit more on the wheels, give it a bit more depth, a bit more detail. Again, a little bit more on the motorbike to be done, but not a great deal. The figures have just been primed, and they're quite nice actually. So they've been primed, so I'll paint them as well. There's your outrider. So we'll paint them by brush. I'll thin some paint down. I'll give a wash on this, and I'll show you what I mean by just a targeted sort of pin wash on the edges of the cracks and the broken bits of building. Right, I'll do that in a second. Right, everybody, I've pretty much finished this model. I just raced through it and got it finished. I was wanting to get on with some other projects, so excuse me. That's the finished article. Like I say, we'll quickly have a look at all the vehicles individually and the base as well. So the base, as suggested, I went round and put a bit more of a contrast between the sort of muddy bit and the render, and a nice coat of matte varnish there. Didn't go too mad with it. Picked out some details like the eagle and this sign, which I don't know if it is a sign or just a whatever. It was prominent, so I painted it grey to match the eagle. Nice coat of matte varnish on that. Nice, simple and effective base, I think. Very creative and imaginative from Matchbox. Love to see someone else do these with modern kits. I keep saying Airfix is an open goal there for you. Create a 1/72 scale armoured fighting kits. Put a little base on it. You'll be loved for hundreds of years to come. You really would be. The PAK 40, there we go. So that turned out okay. It's quite nicely detailed, PAK 40 for the scale. Back it off a bit there. And the age of the kit. But otherwise, I'm quite pleased with that. Got a nice effect with the grey and the sand finish on it. I hope you agree. The Sdkfz 11, that's that done as well. The tracks are okay. They don't not a major distraction to the overall finished kit. So we've got the figures in as well. Basically the figures were just block painted, and then just a couple of washes and a couple of dry brushes. Nothing too extravagant. My eyesight isn't what it was these days, so we're gonna have to live with them as they are. But I'll put the tarpaulin on. We can leave it loose, but that's a nice nice vehicle. I wouldn't like to be in the back of that with 6 lads in this sort of heat. Oh yes, I've also put a windscreen in there, and a bit of dirt on the windscreen. That's just like clear plastic, but I just want to get across how hot and dusty and arid and dry these conditions are, how unpleasant they would be to fight in, and I think I've captured that on the vehicle. The motorbike, again, quite difficult to, let's find a little something to hold it up with rather than in my hand. So the motorbike's quite nicely done. Nice finish on that. Again, the figure's just block painted in and just a bit of a wash and a dry brush, but I think we got a nice effect there. So that's them, or that's that. And they've all had a coat of matte varnish. I don't think I did any more detailed paintwork on it that I haven't showed you already. Apart from, like I say, the windscreen, which I've showed you, the figures which I've showed you. So basically, with the base, the half track, the bike makes a little dynamic set, and the PAK 40, which does fit in nicely. I think we've got another winner there. So I'll put some nice pictures up at the end of the video, like still images, so you can have a close look at some of the detail. If you've got any questions, give us a shout, drop a message, and I'll answer. I'll get back to you as best I can. If you want us to do some other kits apart from just Matchbox ones, let us know. I have quite a massive stash, but I just seem to be planned through Airfix kits, Matchbox kits at the minute. Otherwise, I think all YouTubers have got to say, hit the like button and the subscribe button, which I think is the right thing to say. But thanks for watching. Like I say, I'll put some pictures up now, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.